Hey, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Creator Toolbox. This is a show all about the nuts and bolts behind running your creator business, sharing how we run ours. I'm Colin Gray from thepodcasthost.com. Joined by Jacob, as always. How you getting on, Jacob?
Hey, Colin. Yeah, good to be back. Not to sidetrack at all, but I was listening to a few episodes that we've recorded recently, and every single time you ask me that, I say the same thing. I say it's great to be back, and I knew that today. And I said before I came on, I'm gonna say something better. I'm gonna say something more interesting, and I honestly couldn't come up with anything. So I'm really well. I'm really excited to be back.
Maybe I can ask you a different question. It's like, and now I'm joined by Jacob. Jacob, what's the last fruit that you ate?
A mango. It's delicious.
Nice, good. Oh, damn it! I shouldn't have asked you that. It just made me jealous. Jacob is for the benefit of the listener. Jacob is currently in Thailand, so he's got a plentiful access to mangoes and all sorts of tasty fruit. So today we've got a few topics to cover today, don't we? We've got community chat tools. We've got affiliate marketing. Is affiliate marketing dead? Is it? Don't know. We'll discuss that. We've got community, totally private podcasting, and a tool you found as well during your research for this very episode, haven't we?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Let's jump into it. I want to start with Ripple. Can I jump in first? Okay.
Go for it.
There's a tool that I have discovered quite recently. I'm going to just bring it up here. So here we go. Private podcasting, I mean, it's a great way to monetize a show, and community is another that really complements it well as well. People love getting exclusive content, and if they can then talk about it with other listeners and connect with you as the host directly, then that's even better. So this tool that I've found just recently allows both of these really easily, and it actually has a few other really cool benefits too. So I want to talk that through. The tool is called Ripple, and we're going to bring it on screen now to show you. So this is Ripple. Now, Ripple is designed by Brian Cassell, who is a guy I've got to know quite well over the last couple of years, creates some great products. And the principle is that it combines private podcasting with community. So you can create a private podcast on Ripple and then develop a community just within that private podcast. But equally, you have public podcasts listed as well, and you can develop a community around that public podcast. So taking Brian's community as an example, he runs the show called Bootstrap Web. Runs it with Jordan Gal, and the two of them have run this show for years now. I've followed this show for quite a long time. Really good show. Really worthwhile listening if you don't already. Just the story of two guys running businesses, creating products, all sorts of stuff. Really interesting. And unsurprisingly, given that it's Brian's product, he has the biggest followed show on the platform so far. It's pretty new, so it's still quite a fledgling thing. But even so, 172 people he's got involved in this. Really cool. I mean, really, yeah, he just built it for himself. He self-admits this. He kind of just built it for himself, and then has made it more public as well. So the way it works is you come on here as a listener, you search for the podcast you like. If it's, somebody's mentioned, generally as a podcaster, you'll mention this platform. So Brian's mentioned it a bunch of times, but you come on here, you could type in Creator Toolbox. So you'll see our show in the list here. We have one fan, which is me. If we mention it. So yeah, if you're out there listening and you want to get in this community, that'd be excellent. I'm thinking about trying to promote this. The only there's a question I'll have for you in a minute, but I'll show you the platform first. You go and you find it and you just say, right, I'm a fan. You mark yourself as a fan. It's over here on the left. If it's not one of your favorites, add to favorites. And from then on, you can follow this discussion. Now, the interesting thing is you can make this private as the podcaster. So you can make it so that people have to sign in. They have to become a member. They even have to pay as well. Monetization options as well. Do you know what? Brian has plans to release monetization options in here, but actually I'm not sure that is here yet. But it's certainly on the roadmap to make it so that people have to pay for this community as well. But there's certainly the private podcasting aspect as well. So this is the public podcasting side. So you can follow the public podcast, but then you can also set up a private podcast feed as well. And I've got a couple of subscriptions in here. I've got one with Brian. So you can definitely make these paid if you want to.
That's cool.
and you can subscribe to them. And there's a couple of cool things in here. There's the fact that you can just build that community. So you can build a community of people that really follow your show, but then you can also create a private one alongside that helps you release, more exclusive content, really kind of build that community around the private side of it as well. But there's just the fact that you can kind of help listeners actually connect with each other, which is something that's not really very common in podcasting. It's something that a lot of people miss out on because it's often just a one-to-one thing going back and forth, where you're speaking to the listener, this listener hears you, and they never know anything about any of the other listeners. But what I've noticed in here over the last few weeks of looking at Brian's community is the conversations, the questions, there's something around if you listen to the same podcast as someone else. Podcasts are so self-selecting for people who are of certain values, certain type, certain likes, dislikes, certain psychographics. So there's a really good chance if you listen to the same podcast as me that we're going to get on well and be interested in similar things. So it's been really cool to see that actually. So yeah, that's Ripple. So what do you think, Jacob? Is that like an interesting tool?
Yeah. I would love to use it for the Creator Toolbox. What I'm wondering is, do you think that how much do you think we'd actually be interacting with people if we start promoting this for Creator Toolbox? Do you think we'd get more interaction using something like this versus just asking for emails or traditional stuff? How do you think that works?
I think this is what I'm thinking about actually. Is how much more interaction I think we would get if there was one place that they could come for it. And in that place, they can meet other listeners with all of those similar interests so that you can, you can just share stories. You can talk about episodes. You can pick out a tool that was mentioned on the last episode and say, well, what are the alternatives to this? Stuff like that with other listeners. But equally, I think there's something really interesting in here that I've seen Brian do as well, which is as soon as you've got even like 10, 15, 20 listeners in here, what a resource that is for improving the show over time. So you can come in here. What I would do is ahead of an episode, I would say, I'm thinking about talking about this topic. Anything you particularly want me to cover on this topic? And then you get a whole bunch of questions that you can then build into the plan for that episode. Equally, if you don't even have an idea for an episode, you go in there and say, so what's on your mind? Anyone got an idea for a topic? And you get something that's really powered by your listeners. And there's two things there. First, you get more relevant content, obviously, because it's actually powered by your listeners. But you also get more engagement with that content because the listeners have some ownership over it. They've actually, they've powered some of it. They've had a say into what you're creating. So I think we would. I feel like I would be in here really often, actually, partly for just the discussions, but a lot around improving the show as well.
Yeah. Do you think we'd do a private podcast? What do you think we'd do differently? What would we put in a private podcast?
Yeah. I think the power of the private podcast is that you have the public version that attracts the wider audience, and then you do the private one for building engagement. So you offer something special for people that sign up. And in return, they tend to become more engaged. Either they could pay, maybe, but even if it's a free one, they become more engaged and they become your kind of core fans that help promote your show for you and help you get it out there to more people and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's really cool. And one way Brian's using it, actually, a really good case study of it is he's got, so that one that I showed you just then, in my private podcasts here, my subscriptions and what's next. So Brian does his main show with Jordan, which talks about everything they're doing just now. It talks about struggles, problems, solutions, all that kind of stuff. They help each other out. It's kind of like a hot seat every single week, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. But in this one, he talks about what's next. So this is the private version. So if you like the main show, you're probably interested in what Brian's working on next. And he does short episodes, usually actually I say short, but some of the recent ones have been quite long, like 28 minutes, 25 minutes. But he's giving much more in-depth content there. And interestingly, he's putting a lot less production value into it. He says it there. This is my audio journal. So
yeah, I was just going to say that's how that reads.
Yeah. And he's kind of just like, he's often just pulling out his phone. One of the recent ones I listened to was he pulled out his phone on the beach and he was taking a walk and there was like the waves crashing in the background and he was talking through something that he was struggling with at the moment. And so it was 10, 15, 20 minutes of him just sort of talking through this problem and almost trying to solve it as he's doing it. It was much less rehearsed, much less planned, and much more just, here's what's going on in my head right now. And obviously that's much more just for the super fans. It's much more for just people really interested, but it's such an interesting way to really engage with those super fans, give them more of what they really want, and build that engagement even higher. So yeah. I mean, can you imagine doing something like that? Like, what would you use that for?
I already do some audio journal and stuff. I've actually thought that some of it would probably be. Here's the trouble with it: it would be good content for people who are already interested in what I do.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's where private podcasting works best. I might be wrong about that, but I've not been part of many private podcasts. One of the ones that I have been part of, it was paid for. It was a Patreon thing. It was a public podcast primarily, but they had this kind of private tier, and they made like it's a comedy podcast. So they're just it's like after dark. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not pulling punches. They're not too worried about getting demonetized because it's all private. It's all, so you get the best kind of content in there, but it's all kind of special effort content, specials. They would actually get a budget and go and do something interesting and just be funny. But I think that only works because they had the public podcast. Do you think what do you think about that? Do you think they kind of have to go hand in hand, or can you have
I think so. Yeah, an exclusively private show generally doesn't work very well at all unless you have another channel. Maybe it's it doesn't need to be a podcast. Maybe it's a YouTube channel and you do a private podcast to kind of just talk behind the scenes, that it would let a YouTuber who puts a lot of production value into their videos. Maybe they only get something out every 2 weeks or every month, lets you put something out a few times a week instead to engage with your audience. But yeah, you generally need another channel to go with it to be known. The podcast, if it's a podcast, the podcast is what grows your audience, and the private is what monetizes it potentially, or what engages it, I think. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I think platforms like this, though, like Ripple, I think not necessarily just the private podcasting part of it, but giving people a place to come and kind of gather, it's got to be quite a good growth tool for a podcast. It'll take a bit of it'll take a bit to get going. But is there anything else that Ripple does, like kind of growth wise?
Yeah, interestingly, that it does actually help with attracting new listeners, because as soon as you go to a podcast, like I mentioned, if you listen to a podcast, somebody else listens to a podcast, it's likely that you're into the same kind of stuff. You probably will get on well. Maybe you wouldn't, I don't know, but I think it's more likely, certainly. So you can go to the podcasts. Let's say I click on, let's go for My First Million here. Come down here, and there's a button here, fans also like. So click that, and then I can see that everyone who has signed up for this service that has clicked on My First Million has also clicked on Bootstrapped Web, Startups for the Rest of Us, Acquired, Mostly Technical, Rogue Startups, Open Threads. So you see a list of shows that are not necessarily like My First Million, but are liked by the same kind of people, which I think is actually a really interesting difference, isn't it? Like, you can go and say, like, here's a bunch of shows that are on the same topic, but it doesn't mean you're going to like the hosts the same way. It doesn't mean it takes the same angle, has the same philosophy, does it? So, yeah. What's a show you're into, Jacob? Let's have a quick look.
If you scroll down there, actually, Bootstrap Founder. Yeah. Okay. With Arvid, he's a good lad.
With Arvid.
Good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I look down, fans also like, and there's a bunch of stuff in here built to last. It's very similar. I mean, this is going to be, I think this is going to be really valuable when it's built out more. So at the moment, it's quite new. I think Brian's only got a few hundred users on it necessarily. So it's not giving a massive variety of shows. It's mostly fans of Bootstrap Web, to be fair. So it always shows off. And so all the also likes lists are very similar. But I think this is going to be really valuable once it builds out, once there's a bigger audience on here.
There's already some shows in there I've never heard of, which is really cool. Even with not loads and loads of users. So that's cool. I think discoverability is always it's always the challenge with podcasting, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's Ripple. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. I think the one debate I have is whether we use it. So I love the tool, and I think we should use this, or at least the principle. But my one caveat or my one concern is just adding another platform to what we do already. So the alternative, I think, is actually just building a space like this in our existing community. So we've already got a community called IndiePod, and we could just build a little space in there that we can link people directly towards, that's a part of the community, but it's still a private little space just for listeners of the Creator Toolbox or our other shows like Podcraft and the rest. So I don't know. What do you think? There's definitely more utility here specifically for this, but then there's benefit in getting people into our wider community as well via our podcasts. I'm not sure. Any thoughts?
Yeah. I have opinions. I tend to err towards fewer platforms, fewer places, the better.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
although there is crossover between our podcasting audience and the Creator Toolbox audience, lots of crossover. I don't know, someone that finds the Creator Toolbox without knowing anything else that we do, maybe you think that might be, I don't know, just weird. We're asking them to join a community about something that maybe they're not interested. Maybe they're not interested in podcasting at all.
yeah,
They're just,
yeah,
they're just creators of other types. So yeah, that's
yeah,
that's one thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I would suggest that probably if someone follows our brand of the creator philosophy, they have to end up being at least interested in podcasting. And our
Ah,
indie pod community definitely talks about stuff wider than just podcasting. And our paid community in there, our Podcraft Academy, is definitely widening out and covering all elements of the creator economy, partially powered by this show as well, actually. So yeah, don't know, no final decision on that, but yeah, definitely a few things to
yeah.
think about.
Right.
All right, well, that's Ripple. All right, what you got for us
Okay,
then,
cool, cool.
Jacob? You got another topic?
Yeah. I have been going very, very deep on affiliate programs because our current program at Ala2 hasn't been working. So I had one big question when I started this, and it was, is affiliate marketing dying? And if it is dying, what's the alternative? And I kind of thought in my head before it started, yep, it kind of is dying, because it kind of just feels like it is, and it's probably all shifting towards influencer marketing. And I wasn't completely wrong. It's not a world that I've spent a lot of time in, so I had to actually research. I had to actually go and find out. I wasn't completely wrong, but it's kind of a bit more nuanced than that. It was an interesting thing to look into. Could it kind of, it goes, well, here's the thing. When do you
Okay.
think the first affiliate marketing website started? Like the first online affiliate program?
Oh, good
Yeah.
question. I mean, if I'm gonna play the game, I'm gonna say like 1980 or something, because it's probably going to be ridiculously early. But realistically, I mean, blogs were really taken off in the early 2000s. I mean, I think realistically, it could have been like 2002, 3, 4.
You were
When was
close to
it?
the first
Tell me.
time.
Oh,
You
really?
were close to the first time. 1989.
Really?
1989. And it was a
Yeah.
website called PC Gifts and Flowers. And it was
Uh-huh.
exactly what it sounds like. It was just mail order gifts and flowers. And people signed up in exactly the same way that an affiliate program would work today. They got a commission for every sale that was attributed to them. I'm not sure how they did the attribution. Maybe it was just discount codes, probably. But yeah, that really surprised me. And that's kind of what put me into gear about thinking of the difference between affiliate marketing and um, influencer marketing in a slightly different way, because I'd assumed that one was the evolution of another, because it's about individuals promoting things for some profit. You know,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
they work with a brand. The brand sells things, and they're really similar, but it's not the same. And yeah, this is probably completely obvious to other people, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just not a world I've been part of, and I'd never really
Yeah.
differentiated the
Yeah.
two. But
Uh-huh.
if you break it down, affiliate marketing has happened since the start of commerce, really, because it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a trusted partner referring business to you, and then you give them a backhander. Here's a fiver for the trouble, kind of thing. That's been
Absolutely.
happening
Yeah.
forever. It's been happening since the start of the internet, and it's kind of continued on, but it feels like it's. Well, here's a question: do you feel like it's do you feel like it's tailed off because you've been working in affiliate marketing for a long time?
Yeah. I mean, the first money that the podcast host ever made, our company ever made, was affiliate money. It was with Amazon. Amazon was the big guy in the affiliate space back in well, that was about 2010 right then. But yeah, absolutely, it was going for
Yeah,
way before that. And affiliate marketing was like rife through, yeah, really strong through the 2000s as well, I believe. When I first started learning about it, there was already all the forums, like there was like the Warrior Forum and stuff like that. There was all these places that were really famous for people talking about how to make that work. I think there was there was growth right through the 2010s, right into 2020, I think. And it was really through 21 that things started to go a bit haywire. And there was a bit of the sort of COVID traffic spikes and drops again after that maybe caused some of that. But there was also massive changes in Google as well around that time too. I think
mhm,
I don't think necessarily the world of affiliate marketing has changed. It's more how people can promote that because it moved much more away from blogging. So it was much harder to start an affiliate blog, I believe, by like 2020, 22, 23. But actually, a lot of people were still doing that kind of work, but just in different places. So it just became known as brand deals instead, really.
yeah,
There's different variations of that. Sometimes in a brand deal, you just get paid one thing up front and that's it. But equally, a lot of people use affiliate marketing on YouTube, working with brands. Maybe you get a little bit of regular income plus commissions from stuff that you sell as well. So there's all sorts of variations of it. And I think it just evolved in how people were doing affiliate marketing. And I think part of this came into that. I mentioned to you during the week around the whole kind of conglomeration of websites as well, the takeover by the massive brands. Did you find anything out about that?
what do you mean? Give me an example of a massive brand.
Yeah, well, I mean, the trouble is, it's stuff that you've never really heard of, like so outlets like Vox or outlets like I don't know, even simple stuff like TV Guide or PC World or like
Yeah,
Entrepreneur and Forbes and places like that, Cosmopolitan, big magazines like that. There,
yeah,
so many of these different brands are owned by just, I think it is, let me have a look back. I've got the data here. 16, yeah. So 16 companies actually own like the vast majority of Google search results in the world.
yeah,
I mentioned Cosmopolitan there. So Cosmopolitan's owned by a company called Hearst, and they also own things like Men's Health, Digital Spy, Esquire, Redbook, Popular Mechanics, Bicycling, Good Housekeeping, Runner's World. So that's a big magazine brand, but equally they're just like a massive digital brand, aren't they? Like so much of that stuff is digital now. And then you've got other ones like GameSpot, Metacritic, are much more digital first rather than magazine first, and they're both owned by Fandom and a bunch of other brands they own as well. So there's all these big brands um, appear to be big brands to us, like The Verge owned by Vox and Thrillist owned by Vox and all that kind of stuff. Like they all go back up to these 16 bigger brands, many of whom you've never heard of. Like who's heard of Hearst or Bustle?
mm,
Ziff Davis owns IGN and PC World and all that. Like you've never heard of these places, but they're the ones that are dominating it. So I think a huge change in the affiliate marketing world was when all of these companies suddenly started gaining so much power in the Google search, partly through conglomeration, because as soon as you own 10 different websites, you can do some interlinking, you can do inter referrals, all that kind of stuff, which gives you so much more power than any individual website. And so they all just float to the top and take it over entirely. And therefore, anytime you search for best vacuum cleaner, and then like PC World shows up. Sorry, like PC exact whatever the PC magazine is, like something completely unrelated, essentially, shows up because they know that it works because they have all these other brands that are ranking for that and making money off it. So, yeah, I think that was a huge change that made it really hard for new ones to start up.
yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because I mean, going back to the sort of timeline of it, right? So it started in '89. That's when it started. 90s by the signs of it, which is before either of our time
Yeah.
in marketing. Sounds like it was a golden age, an absolute golden age for affiliate marketers. And that's probably where the sort of like meta forums of discussing what works best and
Yeah.
strategies and tactics probably started. Because back then, paid advertising was new, very, very cheap, and no one really knew how to use it. So it was all these affiliate marketers that started using it
Yeah.
first because it was a really easy way to just get traffic from
Yeah.
search, from banner ads. Banner ads were big, and so that's one thing. The behavior of the like the affiliate marketer changed there. But what was really really easy then was that the internet was still a novelty. Trust wasn't really a thing for anyone that was actually using the internet at that point. You know, as the older fogies started coming online in the early 2000s, then that started creeping in. But everyone was just excited about the internet, and anything was worth clicking on because you never knew where it was going to lead to. And I think this probably made it really easy at the time to make affiliate marketing work because you had really cheap paid advertising. You had people willing to click on anything. Like, what could be better?
Yeah.
My question is, like, how did they actually make the sales? Because surely, like, checkouts and stuff were a nightmare back then. Can you imagine people A/B testing like checkout button colors and stuff?
Yeah. They were
In
just
the late
horrible
90s.
experiences. Yeah. But
Yeah,
it was still so much better. Like, there was so much less competition that people did it anyway, didn't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then that started tailing off because big brands started coming into paid advertising. So advertising got expensive, and that became the not meta of the time. And then it was niche
Mhm.
sites, and that was like early 2000s to 2010s, and that's where the podcast started. This is your era.
Yep. Yep.
And what killed that is the big brands for sure. Niche sites were the way, but the interesting thing is, it's so that's from the sort of advertiser from the affiliate marketer's perspective. But looking at it from the actual customer's perspective, the person that's clicking on these and buying things,
Hmm.
what's changed there is, and what leads on to into influencer marketing is trust. Trust started becoming a much bigger thing on the internet. I don't know. I don't exactly know why it was. I don't know if it was the internet historians will look back on this and answer it one day, but I don't know if it was just the sheer amount of people coming online and then the sheer amount of content, and like this was like peak late 2000s, early 2010s was like peak clickbait in articles for me.
Mm.
I don't know if that's around when I installed AdBlock,
Yeah.
and that's why it feels that way. But trust started becoming a bigger issue, and that's a problem that niche sites solved, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
because a niche site was an expert that was focused on one thing. Like you were the
Yeah.
podcast host when that started, you know,
It was often
and
one
for
person. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and rather than getting sort of bombarded with 10, 20 banner ads for like a microphone, you know, people were clicking on these things less and less and less. But niche sites came about, and actually suddenly there was a person, a site, a place to go to and get a trusted review on Samsung QTU, and then you would have an affiliate link in there that would take them to Amazon, and they would trust you. But that kind of stopped working for two reasons. I think that probably started tailing off. You'll maybe tell me I'm wrong, but I think that probably started tailing off before the rise of influencer marketing happened and before these kind of big brands started taking over all of search. Because trust in like the 2010s, that became a big thing. There was like all sorts of headlines around elections and around the politicization of the internet, and it became a much messier place, and it's only gotten worse since then. I need to bring this back a little bit.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you.
So do you
It's
know? Do
yeah,
you get what I'm
trust
saying?
eroded as more and more content was created, more and more crap was created, more
Yeah,
and more people jump on the bandwagon. It always happens. Like you
yeah,
get the people that are actually doing it for the right reasons in the early days, and then it suddenly works and they make money from it. So everyone else jumps on and does it for the wrong reasons. So
yeah,
yeah, it totally dies away. Yeah, but then that's
yeah,
why influencer marketing grew up, wasn't it? Like you're saying, because then suddenly there's a real honest person on Instagram posting like 12 times a day, or on YouTube, like just vlogging, like the Casey Neistats of the world, like literally just carrying a camera everywhere, and they're just themselves. And you're like, oh, I like this person. They feel like a friend. Leads into podcasting. Like podcasts are great for affiliate marketing because there's so much trust built, because people spend so much time with you and think of you as a friend. So as soon as you mention a product, and as long as you don't break that pact of trust by mentioning someone crap, it genuinely is someone decent, good for that audience, they're going to keep buying it, and lots of your audience are going to do it. So that's why it works. I think there's still lots of opportunity in that space. I feel like it's gone more niche. I feel like you need to be able to add something to the recommendation. So like the best vacuum cleaner doesn't work anymore. The big brands have like taken that stuff over. The commodities completely gone. They just list 10 best, and you look at them all and it's all the same 10 best, because those brands have paid the highest affiliate marketing fees and basically got themselves in, whether they are the best or not. But if you can add some education like we do, so hosting platforms. Like everyone who runs a podcast has to use a hosting platform. So they come along and they're like, well, what the heck is a hosting platform first? And so we teach them what it is, why you use it, what you might want to find in a good hosting platform. And actually, they're not all the same. It's not like a Hoover. You don't just want it to suck. Some people want a hosting platform for private podcasting. Some people want it for growth tools. Some want it for SEO. So we can teach them all of that stuff. And I think that's a big part of where the opportunity still lies. When you go very niche and you add that education and expertise, and you can add that to the mix, so that the affiliate purchase is actually just on the other side of you helping this person.
100%. And that is the reason, to answer the initial question, that affiliate marketing isn't dead. It's just
good to know.
Long story short, it isn't. It's not dying. I know it's a total clickbaity title, but I kind of thought it was, because it just feels like that's the way it's going. But it is.
I think
it comes down to trust. We are able to build that trust because we go into that super niche level of detail, like you say. We're able to earn because we're able to, pretty much that. Like we're experts in what we do on the podcasthost.com. We go into the detail. It's not just a listicle. We'll actually, we'll not just teach you that. We'll teach you everything else around it. We'll help you make the right choice. We'll not just say this one's the best. This is the top of the list. This is the person that paid more. And I think that's why sites like ours are still going. But the currency is still trust, and there's, I think that's probably why a lot of people who were working in affiliate marketing before, that were on all these forums, like there was a time where affiliate marketing was just the hotness, and it's just kind of not anymore. And I think that's the thing that's changed. But there is a bit of a paradox which I don't understand, which I want to ask you about.
Okay. Let me say one thing before you jump into that one. I think to be fair to your clickbaity title, I think is affiliate marketing dead? It depends. In some areas, I think it pretty much is. Like it's not half it. Well, it's near impossible to go and start a new blog called Best Lawnmowers and actually get that to rank. And even though you could put some education in that, you could make that quite specific. But the only way you could do that is, I think, actually, if you do build some influencerness around it, so you become you are the lawn care guy with all of that stuff in the background. So the affiliate marketing that is dead is one person in their bedroom with no knowledge around 20 different topics, starting a bestlawnmowers.com, besthoovers.com, besttoasters.com, which is what used to happen and used to actually work. If you put some work into that, that would work. So it doesn't work from the fact that you don't have the differentiation, the education, but it also doesn't work because now that is so easy for anyone to do with just a chat GPT account or a Claude account or whatever. You can spin up like 500 of them. So in the next 2 or 3 years, that is just going to be swamped with sites like that. So it does need that influencerness, that authority, that trust. Yeah, for sure. So sorry, what's the paradox?
Well, the paradox is the only place that I've found that affiliate marketing is flourishing. And it's probably the one place on the internet where I would have thought that, like, we're talking about trust and how kind of what's dying is maybe affiliate marketers that don't build that trust first.
Yeah.
Web3, crypto,
Right?
crypto casinos, initial coin offerings, NFTs. That is, I think, where all of the people who were once upon a time just building bestlongmore.com, that's where they've went. There is so much activity in Web3 affiliate marketing. And if you think
Really?
about it, I've got questions. I've not done extensive
Uh-huh.
research into this. It just really surprised me. But like the amount of uh, just spam messages and stuff all about crypto. I mean, is that where it's all going, or is there actual real work being done on getting people into proper projects? I don't know. It just it really really surprised me, but it's quite
Yeah.
a big area, and there's some serious people working on it. I was listening to um while I was started working on this program. Like I say, I'd never really done much work in affiliates or just
Yeah.
really understood how it works and what the norms are. So I just took a morning and listened to some podcasts. All of the episodes that are released recently on various different podcasts, it's all about crypto.
Is that right? Really? That
That's
is,
what they're
yeah, yeah.
focusing on.
That
Yeah.
surprises me too. Although it surprises me in one way, and in the other way, it doesn't, because I think if you go back to the early days of affiliate marketing, so I kind of said a contradiction there in that I felt like a lot of the early affiliates were just writing about stuff they were passionate about that they liked, and they just happened to put affiliate on the other end. That's kind of how it happened with us. I was just writing about podcasting, and I just put an Amazon link on it, thinking, oh, if I get a couple of quid, that'd be lovely. So there were those kind of people, but also there was all the people that just figured out that they could use paid ads to arbitrage their way into earnings and stuff like that. So there's that whole group of people that are just make money online. They're not really, that's what they're interested in. They're not interested in lawnmowers or crypto or whatever. It's just making money online. And so it feels pretty natural that that bunch graduate towards crypto because it's such a, well, it's a gamble in so many ways, but like it is a way that people have proven that you can make money online if you're in the right place at the right time, at exactly the right time. So I don't know. Yeah, one way it's surprising, one way it's not.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think a lot of those people were just making money online. They were just making best lawnmower.com, and yeah. So yeah, you're right. It does kind of make sense, but aye. Um, but then this issue with the trust, this issue with niche sites getting dominated on search, these two things add up to influencer marketing where it is today. The fact that, like, I think companies need to kind of buy trust in a way.
Yeah.
And influencers are kind of just, it's a word that I don't actually really like. It's a word that some influencers call themselves, and some of them don't like the term either.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like what they are is professional trust builders, and not always on purpose. And usually it's best when it's not on purpose. It's
Yeah.
just it's what a niche sites used to be. They're really interested in one thing. It might be like a particular type of content. It might be like get ready with me videos. It might be podcasting. It might be classic cars, whatever it is. But it's the same thing that niche sites were, and what made niche sites quite beautiful at the time,
Yeah.
and really good for affiliate marketing. But there's a face on it. It's an actual person. It's why the podcast host worked well, because it was your face on it, it was Matthew's face on it, and there was that trust. So it totally, yeah, you just the dots just connect, and it totally makes sense. But yeah, I think just to maybe try and cap this off a bit. I think though that there's a place for something in the middle, and you mentioned this already a few minutes ago. But the kind of classic way that brands are working with influencers or working with creators is they will buy a sponsored post. And in
Mhm.
that sense, I don't know if that's actually that good for the creators or for the brands. And I think that there's something that modern or current influencer marketing can kind of take from affiliate marketing,
Mhm. Yep.
and it's bringing in some element of compensation for performance. So rather than giving someone $300 for a social post, maybe you give them $150 and a commission for everyone sold. And I think that does two things instead of just paying for one post. One, it automatically becomes a longer term relationship, because for every sale that comes from that link that they have, like affiliate, schemes of old, they're going to keep getting revenue from them. So there's an incentive there for them to try the product. Maybe they're gifted it. Maybe maybe they're given access to it if it's software or courses or whatever it is. They have to there's a lot in it for them to understand the product and to figure out whether they like it and explain that in a way, And I think that's very, very different to just buying a post and saying, "Here's a cool thing. Have a look at it. They sent me it," and boom.
Yeah,
I know
I think the
there's.
only way.
What do you think on that?
I think the only
That's just
time
what I was
that
thinking.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only time that does work is when it's your area anyway. So like a lot of the time when I've tried to find people to work with like this, whether you call it influencers or whatever, it's people that are already talking about what it is you want them to talk about. You're absolutely right. Like it's not going to work if somebody came to us and said, "Can you put will you talk about our favorite Hoover?" So we'll put a channel on, a video on our YouTube channel about a Hoover. It's just not going to work because it's not the right content. We've not built trust around that, and it's going to be pretty obviously a paid slot. But if it's something that we talk about already anyway, or at least very closely related to our topic, then it works. For example, in the past, we've worked with tools which are not for podcasters necessarily, but they offer utility for podcasters, like a community platform. So we worked with one membership platform to do sponsored content, and we created that content to teach podcasters how to use this platform to monetize their audience. And so it was genuinely useful to podcasters. If I'd had that idea without being paid for it, I probably would have still made it. But they gave us the idea. They said, "I think our thing can work for your team, for your audience." We said, "All right, let's have a look." I did. I was like, "Yeah, it does." And so we took the sponsorship post money, we made the content, and everyone was happy. And our audience was even happy because it was still good content for them. So yeah, I think that's the difference. Sponsored content does work, but it has to be very audience forward. It has to be audience first, and then it's fine.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So it's not dead. It's also not turned into influencer marketing, which is what I thought.
Yeah.
Really. They are two separate things, and they've both been happening forever. Like I said, affiliate marketing's been happening forever in the way of referral marketing. That's happened since the first guy started selling stones outside the cave. But the same things happen with influencer marketing. It's just that it's the more natural way, I think, for brands to reach people now, just because of the state of the internet, really. But companies in the UK, for example, from the 1500s have been buying royal warrants. I don't think they were always bought. I don't know if they're bought now. I think they're just given, but they could buy a royal warrant, which would basically be like the monarchy's seal of approval for this business. If you think Cadbury's, if you've seen a bar of Cadbury's, you've probably seen the royal seal on there. Like that, this is still happening. Boots, the big chemist in the UK, all sorts of brands with these things, and it's just buying trust. And in that sense, it's not new. It's not, it's not come from anything else. I don't know. This is all probably dead obvious to everyone else, but I had to straighten it out in my head if I was going to do more work on it.
No, I think there's a lot of. It always surprises me when new podcasters come to us and say, "Right, I've launched my show. Next step is monetization." And often the first thing I go to is, "Well, let's talk about some affiliate marketing for your show," because you're probably too small still to get sponsorship. You're probably still too early to think about services, products, unless you have them already. A lot of the standard monetization methods need maybe a larger audience or a bit more of a back catalog behind you. But one thing you can start with straight away is affiliate marketing, because you can just say, "I'll sign up for this affiliate program and for a product I already use, and I'll just talk about it and link people towards it and get some commission." And people are constantly, "I don't really understand how this, like, what? They'll just pay me a commission for selling some of their product. What's affiliate? What do you mean by affiliate? What does that mean?" It surprises me every single time how few people are aware of the whole concept. But I mean, it does make sense. It's quite a background thing. You have to make it obvious when you do have affiliate links. It's legal requirements to pop in saying it is an affiliate link, but people probably skim over that and never even think about it. So, yeah. Not too surprising. Do you know, I'll say one last thing as well, like one last area I think which is still really alive and kicking in affiliate marketing or partnership marketing, whatever you want to call it, is big ticket items, actually, particularly if they need a lot of trust. So, an example in our area would be podcast production. So, a podcast production company, let's say, charges like, let's say they charge $2,000 a month for like really high quality output. Like they work with clients to create a great quality show. They charge $2,000 a month. We teach people how to produce stuff themselves. And therefore, sometimes people will say, "Oh, I don't really want to do this. It's too difficult. Can I get somebody to help?" And we're like, "All right, okay, fine. Well, look, here's a good podcast production company." A tiny amount of people will ever want to actually do that because it's such a high price service. So it's not that attractive as an affiliate program for most of the big brands because they rely on volume. Whereas for us, we'll get like 1 in 100 people, 1 in 1,000 people that sign up for this $2,000 a month service, and we'll get like 500 quid a month from that. And it's, I mean, that's an amazing thing. Equally, people with a very small audience can actually make money out of this. So if you're a consultant and you train people how to grow your business, and podcasting is one part of that, then you might direct them towards, you only have 20 clients, but you might direct 5 of them towards a really high quality production service and get $500 a month out of that as well. So it's a way for a really small audience to actually grow an affiliate income too. But you have to have that really high trust again because it's such an expensive purchase. So yeah, it's just another area I think is those big ticket items are a really interesting part of affiliate marketing.
Yeah, and it's I think in a way that it doesn't quite work with buying posts and buying mentions. A really small, like micro influencer is the term.
Yeah,
can do that stuff. You know, if you've got a consistent, like if you've got a podcast and you've got a consistent audience of 500 people, 1,000 people, 2,000 people that listen every month. And it's really, really niche, you know, especially if it's like B2B or something, or, you know, some juicy area, some juicy niche, then you can make really good money off of that. So I think it's it's more asymmetric. I think, influencer marketing is cool because it means that people can build big audiences and they can earn really, really good money. But I think, the affiliate stuff, more traditional stuff that's just commission based, anyone can start at any level. It's not really, you're not being courted for the size of your audience.
Yeah. Cool. I think that was really interesting. It was good to dig into that. I think there's lots of different aspects to it. I think one of the big takeaways is, for sure, if you're out there, you're creating content around particular specific niches, it's definitely worth looking into more, seeing if there's any big ticket items in there that you can direct people towards, or just the smaller programs that people are, just really looking for, your audience is using already. Often people say, like, go and look at your credit card statement, see what kind of things you buy. And often you'll find that a lot of those things that you already buy have an affiliate program, and so you can talk about them with authority because you use them because you're already a fan of that product. So your audience will almost certainly be a fan too. Cool. Right. Let's bring this to a close, Jacob. We've already gone nearly 50 minutes. What was the tool, though? I want to know, what's this tool that you used during the research for this? You said there was something really interesting you found.
Yeah, it's a tool called Site. I'll just bring it up on screen. It's a tool called Site. Have you heard of Perplexity?
I have indeed, yes.
You have? Yeah, can you see my screen?
I can, let me just bring it up on screen. There you go. Got it.
Yeah. So I think Perplexity is definitely the bigger tool of the kind of AI research tools. That's exactly what this is. It's an AI research tool. But there's one thing I don't really like about Perplexity, and it's that it pulls together an answer for you. Well, the selling point is that it pulls together an answer for you, not from its training, which can always be wrong, can hallucinate. We know that. It pulls it. It researches it. It goes to Google and it looks at sites, kind of mimicking the way that you would if you were doing the research. So in that way, it's quite useful to cut down on some of that time, to cut down on Googling, essentially, because it'll give you citations and it'll send you to the right places. But the only trouble with that is that Google is filled with inaccuracies. There's nothing really stopping a blog post that it uses as a citation in this answer from just having
Being completely wrong.
AI generated rubbish in it, or just it being incorrect for any other reason. So it's kind of flawed in that way. I still use it because it still has its place. Like I say, just if it's something that you're going to Google and you're going to spend 10, 15 minutes Googling, I would use Perplexity instead, because I can get all the links and I can go read them myself and I can get a nice, concise answer, especially if I just want, an easy answer. But yeah, I found Cite, which is a bit different, because rather than searching Google, it searches published academic papers. And that's pretty much the only difference. I really like that, because just by definition, it's much more kind of fact driven. You're much less likely to get crap in there. There still will
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
It's not to say that all
yeah.
academic papers are, top drawer, fully accurate, but as a whole, more accurate than the first page of Google, I would say.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
especially useful. So I've used a similar one. I think I even mentioned it on a very early episode of the Creator Toolbox called Consensus. Consensus.app. I think it's a very similar one. I use it for this kind of stuff all the time. Site looks really interesting though as well. Just to be clear out there, it's spelled SCITE. So a wee pun on citing your research. But yeah, any question that like you can imagine there is some studies around or any kind of science behind it. Like on the front page of here, it shows like, does exercise improve cognition? Can cash transfers reduce poverty? Can mindfulness help with sleep? Things like that that actually have a bit of, it's a real question as opposed to just trying to find some general information, I guess. It's really
Yeah.
useful for yeah. So what were you using it for, particularly for this?
I was trying to find actual studies on affiliate marketing, and understand the timeline, because I wanted to kind of understand where it came from, where it was, like when we started doing it and where we ended up. And I probably did not a very
Yeah,
good job of actually explaining that, but it did really help me get to grips with it. And there's, I don't know, I couldn't actually get a good answer online, because so much
yeah,
of
yeah,
Google is now just geared towards how to do a thing or an opinion on a thing. It's not really, I don't know, it's not always great for finding those kind of answers, for just
yeah,
exploring a topic, exploring the facts. It's just, I mean, it's Google, it's people's articles and that rank for whatever reason, and it's not always exactly what you're looking for. But this is really cool. I found this really, 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 really useful. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I went through a whole chain. The first thing I asked it was, I think it was just a really simple question. It was, when and how did affiliate marketing start? And that's when I found out that it was that company in 1989, which was completely news to me. It wasn't actually that helpful, but what was helpful was being able to ask these follow-up questions. So
yeah,
I've asked this question here: what was the first AI ever? And it's given me it's given me a response. It's got citations in there, so I can go and actually read the papers that it's coming from. But then I can kind of keep that going within that context and ask more questions, which is really, really nice.
yeah,
So like if I'm researching an article, this is probably the first place that I'll come to. Yeah, as a way to get facts rather than
yeah,
opinions and
totally.
common knowledge. Yeah,
I mean, it's really interesting as well around the fact that the health and fitness space online. It's long been it's long been the realm of snake oil salesmen and people just like complete anecdotal research, as in my friend did this and it worked for him, and it's
yeah,
often complete nonsense. But in the last few years, like some of the biggest health and fitness influencers these days are so science backed. Like they're completely like they discuss the literature, they talk about studies that have just come out, and these guys are like classic. Often it's guys, obviously. Well, at least that's the ones I'm finding. Who are bodybuilders, that kind of thing, and they're discussing the research, and they're sitting on a couch, and they're both like the size of houses, and they don't look like scientists whatsoever. But it turns out you look into their background, and they're some of the smartest guys around. Like they really look into this stuff. So it's, if you're a content creator and you can sort of show your credentials, you can show the the depth you've gone to make sure this is all like backed by current research, by current science, it counts. Like I think that the rise of those people online has shown that people care. Like the viewers care about that. They don't just want the stories. They don't just want the anecdotes. They are interested in the science behind it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, really good for that stuff. It's just anything that can be opinion, really.
Yeah. I'm going to type in into this one. Does podcasting grow trust with listeners? Let's see. Does it have research around podcasting? I wonder. Here we go. Searching all the best scientific papers. Summary. These studies suggest that podcasting can grow trust with listeners. Do you know what? That was setting myself up to fail there. Imagine if it came back and said, research shows that podcasting is actually a crap way to grow trust with listeners. We're like, all right, let's stop this now. It turns out you do. You do. That's good. I'm very glad. Live on air. Yeah, that's cool. It's really interesting. Yeah, there's loads of studies of sites as well, similar to your one too site. So yeah, worth having a look at both, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to have a look at Consensus. It's got a nicer UI, and that goes a long way.
Oh, really? Good stuff. Okay, perfect. That tie us up, Jacob.
Yeah, that was good.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for listening out there. If you do want to support some of the content we put out, if you've enjoyed this, if it's been useful, do go and check out Alitu. Alitu is one of the products that we run. It has an affiliate program, as Jacob has alluded to. So if you talk to podcasters, if you talk to content creators in general, you could help us sell Alitu to them. And we do think it's worth it. We do think it's super helpful. It makes it much easier to make your podcast, from call recording to audio cleanup that's automated to editing that's far easier than just about any other platform out there, and hosting built in as well. So it's the all-in-one podcast creation platform. So please do go and check it out. You'll find it over at alitu.com. That's alitu.com. It has a free 7-day free trial. So if you want to just try it for one episode, 1 week, see if it works for you, you can do that at no cost. All right. Jacob, thank you very much. It was good fun, as always.
Thank you. Yeah.
And thank you, listener, for tuning in. Yep. We'll see you next time. Talk to you then.